The SAT and ACT are both standardized tests that every student has to take during their junior year of high school. But there are major problems with this test. The most problematic is how economic barriers affect the performance of students on this test. Students who live in richer areas often have a much higher SAT score, and students who live in lower income areas have a lower SAT score on average. People whose parents earn over $50,000 a year have an average SAT of 1,599. And people's parents who earn under $50,000 a year have an average SAT of 1,397. This is a more detailed graph of how income affects SAT. As you can see, from $0 to $50,000, it slightly goes up, and from $50,000 to $100,000 and $100,000 to $150,000, every single time it goes up by a little bit. There's not one time where it decreases when the income increases. Why is there this trend? Many times before, the ACT and SAT have said there is no way to study for their test, as it is a nationwide test that is supposed to see how a student will do in college. But everyone knows that there are tutors you can have for the SAT and ACT. They usually have tips and tricks to help people do better on the tests. One of the most well-known one is KISS, Keep It Short and Sweet, which is, while during the English section, the shortest answer is almost always the right answer. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it can help people who are confused on an English question and can just guess for the shortest one and have a very good chance of getting that question right. These tutors often charge a hefty sum for each session, therefore giving a massive advantage to people who have enough money to rent out these tutors. Another way that people study for the ACT and SAT is through books. These books have practice tests and also some more tips on how to do better on this test. People who go to school in richer communities, the schools often have these books in their libraries so people can rent them out and practice. But people who go to school in urban areas or in poorer communities often don't have the money to have these books in their libraries. So this is a very big disadvantage to people who don't have access to these materials. This test also favors people who are native English speakers. People whose first language are Spanish have a great disadvantage because it's not their fault that they didn't learn English as their first language. It's where they're born, and that's what they're supposed to learn. The ACT and SAT have an English section that is much easier for people who have been taking English their entire life. Before we start trying to figure out how to fix this problem, we need to figure out what matters to colleges most. The SAT and ACT are the most important to colleges, then GPA, then college application, then extracurricular clubs, and of course college prep classes. I believe that GPA should be the most important thing when trying to get into college, as you can do well on GPA no matter where you were born into, and no matter if you were born into a lower income area or higher income area. People who are born into higher income areas often have better schools and better teaching facilities. This allows them to get 4.0s if they try hard enough. People who are born into poorer communities or lower income areas often don't have as good of schools, but someone who puts all their effort into it and gets a 4.0, gets a 5.0, should be seen the same as someone from a higher income community getting a 4.0 or a 5.0. A college application should also be a big deal in the college process, as a college application shows how a person grew up, what their parents did when they were kids, so you can see what their basis was for their education. Extracurricular clubs are also important because it shows what service they did outside of school, if they helped people with homework, if they did tutors, if they just did sports. It's a good way for colleges to learn what their students will be doing. And of course, college prep classes gives a benefit to people in richer communities, but they should, because taking a college class should mean more than taking regular classes. Now, how can we fix this? There are a couple things we can do to try and fix this problem. We can totally remove the ACT and SAT from the college application process. But I don't think this is the best idea, because if you totally remove the ACT and SAT, then some people might be able to cheat their way through high school. Whether it be just cheating off someone right next to them and getting a better grade than they actually deserve. So we should have the ACT and SAT there just to test people. Or we could do two, is make GPA the most important factor in college decision. This one I think is definitely the best idea, which is definitely move up GPA. Another way you could try and fix this is also to make the ACT and SAT optional. So if someone wants to take the ACT and SAT from a poorer community and show that they are on the same level as people in a higher income community, then they can take that. And if they take it and they get a worse grade than they expect, they can just not send it to colleges, just send their GPA in their college application. Another way is we could change the ACT and SAT to not discriminate. And what I mean by that is change it so that people who were born Spanish-speaking students can take a Spanish section instead of an English section, and also to convert the language from English to Spanish. The ACT and SAT have many problems, but that doesn't mean that we should give up hope. Hopefully, over the next couple of years, they start to learn that it is discriminatory towards people who are born in lower income communities and towards people who do not have English as their first language.